Some experiences are so profound, they just completely change how you see the world, how you see yourself. For a very, very small group of people, that experience has been leaving the world entirely. So let's dive into what actually happens when you look back at everything you've ever known from the deep silence of space. Just imagine that for a second. Being the sensing element for man. That's how Apollo 9 astronaut Rusty Schweickart described it. He's not talking about, some personal victory here. He's talking about this deep, humbling responsibility. The feeling that you're not just you anymore. You're an extension of all of humanity's senses, seeing for everyone back home. And here's the thing. That powerful feeling that Schweickart is talking about, it's not unique to him. Not at all. It's a cognitive shift so consistent, so universal among astronauts that it's actually been given a name. It's called the overview effect. And it's basically this sudden, profound understanding of our planet's fragility, the sheer beauty of it as one single living system, and this overwhelming realization that everything and everyone on it is connected. It's a change in perspective that goes right to your very core. Now, to really get the overview effect, you have to appreciate the journey itself. It's not just about covering a lot of distance. It's a radical, total separation from everything familiar. And that starts with the most fundamental force in all of our lives. Right? We all feel it, every single second of every single day. We think we know what gravity is. But what if our entire understanding is just incomplete? Because we've never actually left it. According to astronaut Sandy Magnus, you really can't know gravity until you've been away from it. She says you only get it through contrast. You only understand that constant, crushing pressure after you've felt its complete and total absence. For her, coming back to Earth wasn't a gentle homecoming. It was like being slammed by a horrible force. I mean, the journey into space is a complete sensory rewrite. Think about it. Mercury astronaut Scott Carpenter was just blown away by the absolute, perfect silence after the insane roar of the booster. Then you have the sheer joy of floating and seeing a sunset with 20 distinct layers of atmosphere. Even the return is shockingly beautiful, with the re-entry shockwave described as a huge totemic figure. This is such a powerful way to think about it. Gene Cernan, one of the few people to travel to the moon, said coming back home was like returning to a crib. And that's a direct nod to Plato's cave, the idea that we live our lives watching shadows on a wall, thinking that's the real world. For Cernan, leaving Earth was like stepping out of the cave, seeing the universe as it truly is, and then having to go back into that small, familiar, limited space. So this incredibly profound personal journey leads almost every single astronaut, no matter their background, their nationality, their beliefs, to the exact same universal insight. And this isn't some new idea either. Right from the very beginning, this perspective was tied to a deep hope for peace. After his historic flight in 1962, John Glenn wasn't just talking about the science. He was talking about purpose, about using this new frontier to hopefully inspire some cooperation back on Earth. And you fast forward decades later, and the message is precisely the same. Payload specialist Jake Garn said what basically every space traveler sees with their own eyes. The lines we draw on our maps, they're totally invisible. From orbit, it's just one world, one single shared home. I love how astronaut Ron Guerin boiled this gigantic experience down into 3 simple truths. They're things we kind of learn as kids, but you don't really feel them until you see it from up there. 1, we live on a planet. It sounds obvious, but it's not. 2, we're all Earthlings. That's our primary identity. And 3, the only border that actually matters is that fragile, thin blue line of atmosphere. He says that perspective, it has the power to make us all crewmates on Spaceship Earth. But just experiencing this isn't the end of the journey. For so many astronauts, it's actually the start of a whole new mission, figuring out how to share what they've seen and what they've felt. And this brings us right back to Rusty Schweikart's idea of being the sensing element for man. That role, well, it comes with this profound responsibility. It's not enough to just have the experience for yourself. You have to find a way to communicate it, to bring that perspective back to the rest of the crew on the planet. And look, this isn't just some feel-good sentiment. Apollo astronaut Edgar Mitchell was absolutely convinced that this shift in awareness, this deep concern and passion for the well-being of Earth, could fundamentally change human philosophy, our entire system of values. Astronaut Jean-Francois Clairvoy came up with this brilliant comparison that just lays it all out. On a spaceship, right? The crew is united. You recycle everything. You have to support each other. You don't waste a single resource because your actual survival depends on it. Now, look at how we manage planet Earth. The contrast is just stark. It really makes you ask, why don't we treat our planet with the same care we give our machines? So this new perspective isn't just about changing how we live on Earth. It might be about fundamentally changing what we are as we start to live beyond it. So what is the product of this cosmic equation? What happens when our species really, truly begins to live out there in space? The result could be something entirely new, a new branch on our family tree. They call it spacekind, or if you want to get technical, Homo spaciens. It's this idea that as we adapt to life in zero grav or on the moon or Mars, we won't just be visitors. We will physically and psychologically evolve into a new kind of human, one that is fundamentally adapted to these wild new realities. And if that sounds like science fiction, well, Sandy Magnus points out that it's built on our most defining trait. Adaptability is what humans do. It's our superpower. From the Arctic to the deserts, we adapt and we thrive. Space is just the next big frontier for that incredible innate ability. Okay, so for the final and maybe the most important shift in perspective, what if this whole journey isn't something we have to wait for an invitation to join? This is a story from Frank White, the author who actually coined the term overview effect. After he gave a talk to some kids about going to space, a little boy named Masaki pointed out this simple, powerful truth that we adults seem to forget all the time. We aren't waiting to go to space. We're already there. And that, right there, is the ultimate takeaway. The overview effect isn't just for astronauts. It's a perspective available to all of us. The moment you realize we are the crew, right now, on a natural spaceship called Earth that's hurtling through the cosmos, everything can change. So the real question is, what changes for you knowing that?